Hello again. Well, last week we talked about one of the great chestnuts of all of the Bible. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever should believe in him should not perish but have everlasting life. And this week I thought of another. It's the story of Jesus walking on the water. I think that everybody probably has run across this in some manner, form, or fashion, Christian or not. It's just out there in every space that there is. I know 3 jokes that have to do with Jesus walking on water. I see it in memes and in different ways. My favorite cartoon is the one of Jesus as a little boy standing in the tub and Mary going in. So it's all over the place. But the story itself, I think we lose sometimes. And so I wanted to return to it because it's such a cool story. And you don't have to believe that Jesus walked on water. I do, but you don't have to believe that to get the point of the story. So the story is that Jesus is tired of the disciples. And I can understand why. I mean, I love these guys. I love them because they are so human. Who are they? They're a local schlub IRS guy and a couple of fishermen and some brothers, just this ragtag group of people. And there must have been times when Jesus just needed a little alone time. And so he goes off and he said, boys, get in a boat. And he goes off and he prays. And very early in the morning, this storm comes up. And they're way out on the sea, and very, very early in the morning, Jesus comes walking on the water. And the first thing they see him, and the first thing they think is, it's a ghost! These guys, I mean, they have seen him turn water into wine. They have seen him cure lepers and other illnesses. They have seen him raise a little girl from the dead. And they are absolutely dumbfounded and scared out of their minds because this thing's coming for them. And he says, in most translations, it's something like, peace be still, or calm. And I just think there's something more like, guys, it's me, okay? And Peter says, if it's you, Lord, let me come out with you. And Jesus says, okay, come on. And Peter walks out. And as long as he keeps his eyes on Jesus, he walks on the water. But then he turns his head and he sees the rain and the storm and he sinks. He doubts. When you look away from the thing that gives you strength, love, and the ability to let your gifts shine, you'll doubt. Now, for the past 3 weeks, I have been meaning to give a totally different message, but something is holding me back about it because last night I watched part of The Crown. Linda, what's The Crown?
The Crown is a series about the British
monarchy, royalty. Right? It's about Elizabeth, right? And that's about as far from what I'm really interested in watching as it is possible to get, because I like space opera. I like galactic battles and warring races and all that jazz. So this is about a family who I don't really care much about. So Linda said, no, I want you to listen to this. And so she brought me in, she showed me this one scene where Prince Philip, thank you. Prince Philip says he really wants to meet the Apollo 11 astronauts. And he has this image of them in his mind of these heroic figures of great renown and these philosopher kings that are going to have dinner with him and tell them about their adventures. And they're just a bunch of, like, I don't know, bros. They're callow, they're young, and they're not very thoughtful. They did a job and they did it well. That's in a story. And Philip is really disappointed. And he uses it later on. He goes to this little round table of a bunch of guys. They're all priests. And they're all there because they have doubts. And he tells them the story about the astronauts and how disappointed he is. And he says that he has a crisis in doubt because he expected this wonderful, beautiful, esoteric, lovely tale. And what he got was a bunch of yahoos and a desolate atmosphere, dark, lonely, dead. Now, there are lots of biblical doubters. There's Adam and Eve. There's Jonah. Jonah, who after succeeding beyond his wildest dreams, can't be happy. Elijah, who is held up and then crushed and runs away. There's Peter, 3 times denied Jesus. There's Thomas, doubting Thomas. And then there's Jesus himself. Take this cup from me, Lord. Doubt is not only to be found in the Bible. It's found in early Christian thinkers. Wesley had years of doubt. Martin Luther doubted for years. St. Augustine. Doubt is part of the human condition. It's part of what we all experience at some point. Sometimes for a long time. Doubt is part of the human condition. And so is focusing on the problem and not the cure. In The Crown, Philip, thank you. Prince Philip is looking the wrong way. All he sees is the moon and the desolation and the callow astronauts, and he does not realize what an unbelievable faith those men had to have on the people that worked on that bomb, that controlled explosion that took them into space. The math that went into it, the hands, the thousands upon thousands of hands. And if any one of those hands had gone wrong, we'd be telling a different story. They put their faith and their life in the hands of their fellow human beings, men and women. And they did something fantastic. And they couldn't have done it if they hadn't had faith. And they didn't have time to be romantic because all they could do is one thing after another, over and over and over and over again. It is true that there wasn't a lot of time for romance and esoteric thinking. But they also said these words. Upon reflection, as we got further and further away, the earth diminished in size. Finally, it shrank to the size of a marble, the most beautiful thing you can imagine. That beautiful, warm, living object looks so fragile, so delicate, that if you touched it with a finger, it would crumble and fall apart. Saying this has to change a man. James B. Irwin, Apollo astronaut. Or, suddenly from behind the rim of the moon, in long, slow motion moments of immense majesty, there emerges a sparkling blue and white jewel, a light, delicate, sky blue sphere laced with slowly swirling veils of white, rising gradually like a small pearl in a thick sea of black mystery. It takes more than a moment to fully realize this is Earth, home. Edgar Mitchell, Apollo astronaut. If you look the right way, if you turn your mind to what is good, acknowledging that there is bad, but turning the mind to what is good, that bad does not have to rule you. I wonder how you are framing the world. I am just before we sat down, Linda pointed out that Lincoln, our dog, is sick. And just in front of me over there is the result of his sickness. I looked at the carpet and went, do I really like that dog? But I do. He's a lovely, warm, kind, bit of a scaredy cat companion. This is reframing. It's the same thing. The sick is still there. I still have to clean it up. But my mind is no longer troubled. What is one thing that you can reframe? Paul calls on Timothy to have the spirit of power, love, and self-discipline. Philip, at the end of that episode, goes on to be with this community of men. Not all is solved. Doubt remains. But they are in community and they are seeking the good. Let us all go and do so. Amen.